What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hold the Phone podcast. We've been MIA for quite a while. Sometimes life just takes over, but we're back. Week one is in the books. I'm joined by my co-host Ryan. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Glad to be back.
Yes, very excited. Very excited. So I guess I'll just start by saying, what's your overall just thoughts about week one of the NFL season after it's in the books?
Oh, I loved it. I've been so excited for this day pretty much since the Super Bowl. I've been counting down. So it was good to finally get it back. Thursday night was kind of a snooze fest with Packers and Bears, except I like defensive games, so I thought it was interesting, but I know a lot of people were upset about it. But the games this weekend were out of control, and it was topped off by probably one of the best games I've ever watched live in that Texans Saints game. So I thought it was a pretty good week. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I thought Thursday was interesting. It was definitely the game I thought it would be, which is a defensive battle. And plus, Rodgers didn't play at all during the preseason, so I expected him to come out a little sloppy. But yeah, other than that, week one was very interesting. Didn't have a lot of big injuries, which was nice. But yeah, I guess week one's always hard because you never know who's going to be good and who's not this year. But by like week four, you do. But week one is sort of like a toss up. The Titans blew out the Browns. But yeah, I agree with you. And that Saints Texans game, man, it was insane to watch. Just the end of it. The fourth quarter alone was one of the best football games I've ever seen.
Easily. Um, well, I guess we could start just quickly breaking down each game. We already talked about the Packers, Bears a little bit, but I just wanted to throw in there before we move on that I am super impressed with how Matt LaFleur has been able to develop. I guess Mike Pettin really, because LaFleur is an offensive guy, but Mike Pettin has been able to establish that defense. You really saw like how influential he's been and how influential their free agency uh, signees and all their draft picks really have bolstered that defense. Like that defense was insane. Like it wasn't really like that Trubisky was playing that bad, but the defense was just really good.
Yeah,
So I was impressed with that.
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That kid Darnell Savage is going to end up being one of the best safeties probably in the league in a few years. Like he was all over the field on Thursday. And it's just great to see like Aaron Rodgers with an actual defense because the last time he had one, he won a Super Bowl. So I think the Packers are a very interesting team for the rest of the year.
Yeah, luckily the Bills played the Packers last year because I would not want to play them this year.
No, definitely not. So yeah, I guess we can just if you want to just give me your top three games from last week. We don't need to go over them all, but like, what were your top three?
That's true. Well, honestly, not being biased here, but it really, truly was a good game. The Bills and the Jets. That game was amazing, especially for me as a Bills fan. I mean, for the Bills to come back and have 17 unanswered points in the second half and 14 of those coming in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen is clutch. I don't know how, like, to put it other than that. Like, he's got 4 game-winning drives under his belt, and he's only played, I think that was his 13th career game. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say that Josh Allen is more clutch than Sam Darnold. But I do want to say that a lot of our comeback was fueled because C.J. Mosley, who is an absolute beast, and honestly, if he plays like this every game, he's going to be defensive player of the year easily. But once he left the game with an injury in the middle of the third quarter, and that's really when we started gaining traction. So I really don't know if we'd be able to pull that out had he not been injured, but we did, and that game was just crazy how it came down to it. It was very exciting to watch. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, probably not, because you were watching your Panthers almost pull a very impressive comeback. But I'll let you get your pick on one of the top 3 games of the weekend.
Okay, so first I'm gonna just say a few things about the Bills Jets game. I um, loved it. I actually went back and watched the highlights on YouTube because NFL puts together like a 10-minute video of the highlights, And one thing I will say is John Brown, I think that's his name, right? The Bills wide receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely established himself as the number one, which is good because Josh Allen needs one. And another highlight is Le'Veon Bell, after a year, didn't look terrible. I mean, he had, I think it was like 92 total yards between rushing and passing. And so to take a year off and come back and do that. And then another thing, yeah, Josh Allen is clutch. I got to give it to him because I thought when I saw it was, I think it was 16-0 at one point or something close to that.
Yeah.
I was like, well, they lost. It's over. But hell of a comeback. But probably my game would be, I want to say the Panthers game, but I'm not. I'm going to save that for my next pick. Probably the Browns-Titans game because everybody's been hyping up the Browns all offseason, and they just flat out stunk.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest upset of the weekend.
It was, but they were so undisciplined. I mean, I think 2 guys got ejected. They had like 18 penalties. OBJ is wearing a watch during the game. I don't understand this. And then it was just obvious that the Titans came much more prepared to actually win. Mariota played one of the best games of his career. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then Baker Mayfield played terrible. He threw 3 interceptions. I believe they were all 3 in the fourth quarter. And they just really couldn't get anything going defensively. And the offensive line is in shambles for them. And that's probably the biggest worry I'd have if I was a Browns fan, is that offensive line is terrible.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of things about the Titans. I think it's starting to click for Mike Vrabel, the head coach going into his second year. I think things are starting to click a little bit better than they used to. I think Mariota is going to play a lot better this year with Ryan Tannehill, a very capable starting quarterback, breathing down his neck at backup. And this is a contract year for him. So, I mean, if he wants to get a bigger contract, if he wants to get that money, he's going to have to play for it. And I think he's starting to realize that if he doesn't play well this year, he's out as a starting quarterback of the Titans. That's it. Like, it's simple as that. I think he's going to play really well, and I like the defense that they've built around him.
Here's a hot take. Tannehill finishes the season as a starter.
Oh, I back that 100%. I thought he might win the job in preseason, but we'll see. I mean, Mariota is also very injury prone, so it might end up just happening without Tannehill overthrowing him. But I mean, I think they start playing bad around like week 7 or week 8, and they're still kind of in the hunt for the playoffs. I could see him throwing Tannehill in easily.
Okay, so what's your second game?
My second game, I was just looking at the games. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you're good. I just had to bring mine up too.
I'd probably say, my second favorite game was probably the Seahawks-Bengals. I was really impressed with Zach Taylor and Andy Dalton in that game. To play the Seahawks the way they did at home, in Seattle, that was super impressive. They ended up losing the game, but for a rookie head coach to challenge Pete Carroll and his defense like that, with Andy Dalton of all quarterbacks to use, like, that was impressive. Andy Dalton threw for like almost 350 yards. John Ross had an amazing game. They did that without A.J. Green. And I think Joe Mixon got hurt too, and they still almost won. Yeah. That was just one of the most impressive things I've seen the Bengals do since they sent the Bills to playoffs in 2017. Yeah. I love that game.
I think that Zach Taylor is going to do great things for that offense. I think their problem is going to be their defense. And I know they played well against Seattle, but also, I mean, Seattle is Seattle. They don't really have any wide receivers that really scare you. I mean, DK Metcalf led the team in receptions. The running back led the team with receptions. But DK Metcalf, 4 for 89. Tyler Lockett had 1 catch, and they still won somehow. That could just be because Russell Wilson's a beast. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think the Bengals are still going to suck this season, but I think that their future looks brighter now that they know they have something in Taylor.
Yeah, no, I just lost my train of thought, so
you're good. So my second game would probably be the Carolina Rams game, which we all know I'm a huge Carolina fan. We did end up losing 30-27, but some of my big takeaways: Ty Gurley is not 100%. Anybody that says he is crazy. Why is their backup running back getting 11 carries and all of the goal line work? I know Ty Gurley had 14 rushes for 97 yards, but still, I don't think he's healthy. Or at least not 100%, because there's no reason that Todd Gurley should have. I mean, he was averaging 7 yards a carry. He should have gotten the ball every play. They shouldn't have given it to the backup. Another thing I'll say is that Christian McCaffrey's going to have 1,000 and 1,000 this season. As long as he stays healthy, it looks that way. Everybody's hating on Cam Newton because he didn't throw the ball more than 25 yards down the field, and he didn't play great. But he didn't play at all in the preseason, so I'm going to chalk it up to that and hope that he bounces back this Thursday and we don't start the season 0-2, because then I'll be sad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Panthers, I was impressed with how they fought back in that game. I mean, I think I picked them to lose that game only because of how high-powered the Rams are. But I was impressed with how they fought. I definitely think that if they can take down the Bucs prime time going into a short week this week, I think they'll be in good shape. I really do think that Cam deserves a little bit better than what he's got right now, but I think he can work with it, and obviously the defense is going to be pretty good. Really looking forward to seeing what Brian Burns can do. So I'm excited for you guys. You guys seem to have a bright future for 2019.
All right, man. I appreciate it. What do you pick as your third game? Your final game of last week?
I might go with the Cardinals and the Lions. Only because, well, first off, let me just say this. The NFL needs to get rid of ties right now. Ties are the stupidest thing in football I think I've ever seen, ever.
100%.
There are a lot of stupid things in football.
100% couldn't agree with you more.
Ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But to see the Cardinals score that many points in the fourth quarter, they had 9 points going into the fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure they had 9 points, like, with about 13 minutes left in the game. Like, and they tied it up 27-27. That was one of the most impressive feats I've seen from a rookie quarterback in a while. Like, that was just, I don't know if it was a collapse. I mean, it was probably a combination of both. Kyler played really well. Larry Fitzgerald obviously was a huge part in that, like we all expected him to be. And I think the Lions defense collapsed. I was embarrassed. I would be so embarrassed if I was Matt Patricia and the Lions. To have an easy, quote-unquote, easy team like that up about a touchdown and a half going into the fourth quarter, to let that go and to end in a tie, ridiculous. But I was very impressed with the Cardinals. I liked watching that game. I just wish it ended differently and someone would have actually won it.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about that game is I think Kyler Murray played terrible for the first 3 quarters and then figured out that Larry Fitzgerald is a very good wide receiver and started throwing him the ball, because after that he bounced back and actually ended up having a relatively good game. One thing I will say is that there's going to be a lot of growing pains, but I think Kyler is going to actually end up being a really good quarterback. It's just going to take a lot with his size, and I mean, they don't have the greatest receivers. Like Larry Fitzgerald's 108. Yes, he's good, but and then like other than that, they have Christian Kirk. Okay, who knows? You're basically a rookie. And then Denarius Byrd. I mean, he played for Carolina in 2015 when half the roster was injured and Cam Newton carried them to a Super Bowl. So, who really knows? They need more talent, but
they got Crabtree too.
I don't even think he caught a pass. Let me look at the stats.
I think he was inactive for that game.
Was he? He might have been.
I think so.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he must have been because he didn't catch a pass. But moving on from that, I think I'll make mine quick. Mine's Dallas and the Giants. Kellen Moore is going to end up being the Cowboys head coach. He's their offensive coordinator right now, and I think Garrett's going to get fired, and not like mid-season, but I think by the end of this season or next season, Kellen Moore's gonna end up being their head coach because he made Dak Prescott play like an MVP, and it was just incredibly impressive. Just to see that. I mean, Dak had pretty much the game of his life. He went 25 for 32, 405 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's crazy because Dallas is a primarily a run-oriented team. Also, a Daniel Jones sighting at the end of that game. He got in. I know they were getting blown out, but I wonder how much longer until he becomes the starter.
You think he'll start against my Bills this week?
No, I don't. I don't think he'll start this week. I think whenever their bye week is, the next week he'll start. I mean, at some point they have to figure out what they have in him. You spend a 6th overall pick on him. You got to figure something out.
Yeah.
But I guess
I had 3 little mini segments. If you wanted to do that, really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go.
What was your biggest disappointment of week 1?
Oh, hang on. I got to think about it. My biggest disappointment. Probably. Oh, that's easy. The Pittsburgh Steelers. What happened?
Yeah. I agree with that.
I mean,
they got destroyed.
What happened? Juju, what'd you have? 6 for 78? Cool, man. You still lost by 30. James Conner, 2.1 yards per carry. You had 10 touches. Roethlisberger, I mean, you played terrible. The whole team played awful. The defense played terrible. And, I mean, the Patriots are the Patriots. But, yeah, it's definitely Pittsburgh. What about you?
My biggest disappointment was the Nick Foles injury. He looked amazing before he got injured. And now the Dolphins. The Dolphins are also going to sink. But Jags, I don't know how they're going to do it because Gardner Minshew looked pretty good when he came in. But I was just so looking forward to seeing Foles lead that offense, and he looked so good up until he got hurt.
Yeah, he did.
All right, next one. What was your biggest surprise in week 1?
How terrible the Dolphins are. I mean, I knew they were going to be bad, but... Oh, no. Actually, can I change that answer? How terrible the Atlanta Falcons played.
Yeah, that really surprised me, too. I actually picked the Falcons over
Me too.
the Vikings.
I did, too. Julio Jones. You had 6 catches for 31 yards. Also, why is Ito Smith getting more touches, or the same amount of touches as Devontae Freeman? That makes no sense to me. I do think eventually the Falcons will end up being good because I think like 12 or 13 of their games are indoor in domes. So they're going to end up being pretty good, I think. But who knows? I mean, I thought they were going to beat the Vikings.
Their game in week 1 was in a dome. They were in Minnesota.
True. What about you?
My biggest... What are we doing? Surprises? I forgot.
Yeah, surprises.
My biggest surprise has to go to the Titans. I have to honor them a little bit. They surprised everybody, and they just kicked some butt. I was honestly proud of them. I'm not a big Titans guy, especially after they bought those votes in the poll this offseason. They played really well. I got to give it to them. So.
Ooh, honorable mention, the Colts didn't look as terrible as I expected Jacoby Brissett to look. They actually gave the Chargers a good game that one and went to overtime.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I think, honestly, I don't think Jacoby's that bad. I think not knocking my own running back here, but he had Frank Gore when he was when Andrew Luck was hurt in 2017. And, I mean, he was still technically, kind of a rookie because he only played 1 game in his career before. So now that he's sat behind Tom Brady and Andrew Luck, and now he's got Marlon Mack and T.Y. and Paris Campbell and Funchess.
And an offensive line.
Yeah, that's huge, too. I mentioned 2 great tight ends in Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
I think he's set up for success.
Yeah, I think they're going to surprise some people.
And I can't remember what my last little mini segment was. We got off topic. Lost it, but we can move on to week 2.
All right, so our first game is going to be Thursday Night Football. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are a 7.5-point favorite. What do you think is going to happen, man?
I'll tell you what should happen, and then I'll tell you what might happen. You're not going to like it.
Go ahead.
What should happen is the Panthers should probably win by at least 2 touchdowns, in my opinion. Just had a really close loss to the NFC champs, or reigning NFC champs. Playing a division round. They're going to be fired up. I know it's a short week, but I think they can do it. If the defense gets Cam off his game, they could end up climbing back in this one. So I can see if the Buccaneers are if the Buccaneers are able to force 3 turnovers, I think they can win that game. But I'm expecting the Panthers to win that game. What about you?
I honestly couldn't agree with you more. I think the Panthers should blow them out, but I also know how terribly the Panthers play on Thursday Night Football. Cam Newton is notoriously known for not playing good on Thursday nights in prime time. Last year was the Pittsburgh game where he got injured and we lost, I believe it was like 56-6 or something like that. It was something insane. One thing I will say is Gerald McCoy, off-season free agent for the Panthers, is very interesting because it's his first game against Tampa. And he has said earlier this week, there's a lot of people in that building that do not like me and I do not like them. They know who they are. So I think he's very fired up to play this game. And so I expect the defense to come out and win this game. I think Jameis throws a couple interceptions, and I have the Panthers winning, let's say, 28-10.
Ooh. There's nothing better than a good revenge game. But all right. What you got next?
We can just start. Arizona Cardinals versus the Baltimore Ravens. A giant line on this one. The Ravens are 13.5-point favorites.
See, that's where everyone's going to get tripped up. I think I'm not discrediting what the Ravens did at all. They played very well against the Dolphins, but you have to remember, the Dolphins are terrible. I think they're going to be worse than the 0-16 Browns. If they could be worse, I think they will be.
100%.
They will probably win negative games. That's how bad I think they are. They had players demanding trades after the game. I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a close one. I think the Ravens might win, but it's going to be really narrow. I'm expecting like 24-20.
I agree also. I think the Cardinals lose because Kyler Murray throws an interception, and the Ravens defense is just really good. But I think that 13-point spread is way too many points for that game. But I'll be excited to see how Lamar plays because I know he's all hype about his game where he said, I'm not bad for running back, but let's see you do it against somebody that's not the Dolphins. Although Arizona's pretty terrible too. I believe Patrick Peterson's still suspended, and then the second corner is injured. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Next, we have the 49ers versus the Bengals. This is basically a pick-em. Cincinnati is a 1.5-point favorite.
I don't know about that. I think I've always leaned more on the side of the 49ers in this matchup. I like the way they played against the Bucs. They were a little rusty, but I think Jimmy G's going to get it all together. I think it's going to be narrow, especially if the Bengals play like they did against the Seahawks. But I'm picking the 49ers on this one. I'll say 31-24.
I think it's the 49ers for sure. I think the only reason Cincinnati's the favorite is because it's in Cincinnati. But it's not going to be cold. I mean, it's going to be like 60 degrees. I think San Francisco blows them out. I think it's probably 30, let's say 30-17. So not really a blowout, but kind of.
That's enough.
All right. Next, we have the Chargers taking on the Detroit Lions. The Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite.
Blowout. Easily. I can see the score. I can see like a 20-point deficit right now.
For which team?
Chargers.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Like Chargers just destroying the Lions.
That is very interesting. I agree. I don't agree with you about the blowout. I agree that the Chargers win because Detroit, I mean, they don't look great. But, I mean, I'm going to give Matthew Stafford the benefit of the doubt, and I think it's, let's go 21-17 Chargers.
I don't know, man. If Kyler Murray can tear up that Detroit defense, what's Phillip Rivers going to do? What's Austin Eckler going to do?
True, but...
What's Keenan Allen going to do?
But, listen, Hunter Henry's out for like 6 to 8 weeks reported this earlier today with a broken kneecap or something. And then earlier today, I got another report that Mike Williams is considered doubtful for the game with a knee injury. So, what, are they just going to throw it to Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler all game? Probably, but still. I think it makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Hunter Henry is made of glass. I feel bad for that guy.
Dude, so do I. I feel so bad for him. Never mind. We'll get to that game later. The next one is Minnesota versus Green Bay. This one is in Green Bay, and Green Bay is a 2.5-point favorite.
This might be the game of the week right here. This is going to be an absolute showdown. I like the fact that it's in Green Bay. That's going to be a good one in terms of the Packers. But, I mean, that's going to be another defensive showdown. It's going to be just like we saw on Thursday. It's going to be just like we saw on Thursday. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I could see maybe 21-17. It's going to be really close, really defensive. But I think they do score a little bit more points. I think Aaron Rodgers shakes off the rust a little bit. But I'm going Packers 21-17.
I think it's a blowout. I think Green Bay wins 24-6.
Ooh.
I really don't have a reason for that. I like Aaron Rodgers.
Is that 2 field goals or a missed extra point?
2 field goals. I like Aaron Rodgers a lot, and I feel like in the Atlanta game, they relied heavily. I mean, in the Atlanta game, the Vikings relied heavily on Dalvin Cook. He had 21 carries. And Cousins only threw the ball 10 times in that game. So I think once they fall behind and Cousins actually has to throw the ball, again, I'm a huge believer in this Green Bay defense this year. So I think they're going to force some turnovers. And who knows if Stephon Diggs is playing, because he's still listed as questionable with whatever hamstring injury he has.
I'd really like to see Cousins to Doxson in this game a lot.
That would be interesting. I think he's actually good. I think it's better for him that he got out of Washington.
I agree completely.
I think he could be a sneaky deep threat for them. But the next game on the slate is the Jaguars versus the Texans. The Texans are an 8.5-point favorite.
The way they played against the Saints and the fact that the Jags no longer have Nick Foles, this is a blowout. This is like, I'm talking about like 35-10.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's in Houston. It's their home opener. Yeah. They. Sorry, Minshew or whatever your name is. You're gonna throw like 4 picks.
Yeah.
J.J. Watt and company is gonna feast on you. This is a blowout for sure. This next line is insane, but I can't really say I disagree with it. It's the Patriots versus the Dolphins. The Patriots are a 19-point favorite.
I think that's too low. Although the Dolphins do always find a way to beat the Patriots, but I don't think that's going to happen again for like another 10 years. I think the Patriots, I don't think I'd be too bold to say, actually, no, I'm not going to, because like the Ravens, they never let off the gas. I think the Patriots really do kind of let off the gas in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to say around 38 or 41 to about 10. I'm
going to say 35-0. I don't think the Dolphins score.
I would love to see a shutout.
And
that would be so funny.
I think the only reason it's only 35 is because they stop trying. I think it's
definitely. The Patriots are known to let off the gas once they get up big. They don't want to hurt anybody.
I think the end of the first quarter is going to be 21-0.
I could easily see that.
Now, who knows with everything that's going on with Antonio Brown if he'll even play. Although they already said earlier this week that they doubt he even will play because they don't know if they need him. So
I wouldn't waste him.
I mean, who knows if he'll play again? We'll that's a whole nother saga. But moving on. Ooh, where is this game? Who's at home in this game? Ooh, that's shocking. Buffalo is actually a 2-point favorite in New York against the Giants.
Yeah, I saw someone complaining about this on Twitter this week. He was a Giants fan, obviously. He says, I can't believe that we're 2-point underdogs against the Buffalo freaking Bills at home, acting like the Giants have done something good lately. Have you not been watching the Bills games, dude? Our defense is gonna rip you guys apart. Honestly, we narrowly, I will say, we barely beat the Jets, and we were +4 or -4 in turnovers. Our defense didn't force a single turnover, and our offense gave over 4. So if we can limit our offensive turnovers and force them on the defense, it's over. I'll take Bills 21-10.
All right. I have two scenarios for you. Both of them you'll like. No, actually one of them you'll like. The other one you won't. Buffalo wins 21-7 in my first scenario. My second scenario is Eli Manning comes out and throws 2 interceptions in the first half, and Daniel Jones comes in, and the Giants win 28-21.
I could see both of those scenarios happening. The second scenario, Daniel Jones only scores like a touchdown and a field goal. I think our defense would chew him up. I don't think he can come in and just tear up the second best defense in the NFL.
Me neither, but I know he went to Duke, and I should hate him for that, but I really want him to be good just because so many people were so hating on him so much when he got drafted that I want him to come in and just set the league on fire.
Oh, me too. Just week 3.
Yeah, sure. I'm a Bills fan for the season, at least in the AFC, so yeah, I can live with that. Next game is Seattle versus Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is a 3.5-point favorite. And I'm guessing that's just because I'm guessing they're only a 3.5-point favorite because it's in Pittsburgh.
I'm taking Seattle on this one. I know they're a little thin at wide receiver, but I mean, if all it takes is good defense to beat the Steelers, then they're cooked. Because Seattle defense looks pretty good against the Bengals. It would take a big game from James Conner and a decent game from Ben Roethlisberger to beat the Seahawks.
I'm gonna say the Steelers have a bounce back week and barely win 21-17.
I like it.
All right. Next, this is actually I feel like gonna end up being a good game. It's the Colts versus the Titans, and it's in Tennessee.
It's gonna be a really good game, especially if the Titans are able to play like they played on Sunday. But I'm going to go Colts on this one, but barely. I'm talking like 28-24 kind of thing. I just really liked what I saw from the Colts on Sunday against the Chargers, even though they lost. That'll be probably like the second best game of the week, at least on Sunday.
I agree. I'm going to end up taking the Colts 24-21 just because I think Jacoby Brissett's a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota.
I agree.
Ooh, blowout alert. We got the Dallas Cowboys as a -5.5 favorite versus the Washington Redskins.
Are we sure, though? Because the Redskins almost beat the Eagles, and I would kind of put the Eagles and the Cowboys in the same kind of category. Very, very similar. They're both pretty good NFC teams. And, I mean, it is in Washington, so I could see them kind of lighting it up. Not really lighting. I use that term loosely. But, I mean, it looks like Jay Gruden is doing what Case Keenum's good at, which is obviously not asking him to do too much. But, I mean, he looked really good against the Eagles. So I think that's going to be closer than you think.
I hope you're right, just because I'm actually really happy this isn't a 4:30 game, so it's not the game of the week, because I'm so tired of watching Dallas. But I think, I'm gonna stick with my blowout. I think it's a 34-17 win by the Cowboys. I think Ezekiel Elliott starts getting hot because they're gonna start running play actions, and he'll have a full week of practice. So yeah.
We'll see.
Next one, line is way too big for me. It's the Kansas City Chiefs as an 8.5-point favorite against the Raiders.
See, this I think is the actual blowout.
And it's in Oakland.
Yeah, but I don't think the Raiders haven't beat the Chiefs in forever, and they don't even have Jonathan Abram anymore. I think we really underestimated how bad the Broncos are going to be this year. So I think that was a pretty average win from Oakland on Monday night. But I think the Chiefs are going to manhandle them, even without Tyreek Hill. They still have Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. They've got a lot of weapons. Travis Kelce. I still think they run away with it.
I think it's a shootout, so that's why I said the 8.5 point is too much for me because Kansas City has no defense. But I think it is going to end up being high scoring. 42 Chiefs to 28 Raiders. So kind of a blowout still. So my bad on that, but I don't know.
That's more points than I have the Raiders scoring. So.
Next we have Chicago versus Denver. So a defensive battle, basically.
I think this is going to be the bounce back game that the Bears really need. I think the offense still probably looks a little bit rusty, so I think they win by under 10 points.
I'm going to say 28-3 Chicago.
Okay. I like that a lot, but just something that popped in my mind real quick. Yeah. There's not a single super stud on Oakland's defense, and they manhandled the Broncos' offensive line. Can you imagine what Khalil Mack and Aaron Lynch and Eddie Goldman are all going to do to it?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, I think I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I think Chicago probably scores 2 touchdowns on defense. And I
think Joe Flacco's going to end up in the hospital.
Oh, I think Drew Lock comes in.
Drew Lock's on IR.
Who's the backup?
I have no idea.
Who is the backup? Well, that'll tell you because I don't even know who he is. So,
I think they picked up whoever the Rams cut.
Oh, really?
I think not Bortles, but it was some scrub.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, never mind that. Oh yeah, is it Brock Osweiler?
He's their backup?
2 days ago by NBC Sports, Brock Osweiler is returning to Denver as Broncos backup quarterback.
That's really funny. Well, Brock Osweiler is probably also going to end up in the hospital, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's Kevin Hogan and Brock Osweiler. All right, well, never mind. Yeah, I think it's going to be a blowout. I really wanted Drew Lock to come in, but I guess he's on IR, so.
It's probably for the best that he doesn't come in this game. He'd probably get killed.
That's true.
They're probably just going to keep the ambulance on the sideline just in case.
All right, so I'm going to guess that this is the game of the week because, it makes sense. It's the Saints versus the Rams. The Rams are a 3.5 point favorite, and that better be because they're at home. Okay, they are at home.
Boy, oh boy, do I wish this was in New Orleans. Oh my gosh, could you imagine all the fans?
No, because it'd be a riot, and so that's why we don't want it to be in New Orleans.
We'd have to get the Secret Service to bodyguard the Rams. Holy crap!
All right,
but, I'm gonna take the Saints on this one.
Yeah.
The Rams defense is shaken. I know Eric Weddle got hurt against 2 guys. A few other people. I just think that. Excuse me, I almost said Seattle. I think the Saints are a better team right now. So I'm gonna take the Saints in a shootout, but I think they win 42-30.
I think. What's his name? Who'd you say got hurt? I'm blanking on his name. Is it Harrison
Weddle?
Smith? Yeah, Weddle. I think Weddle will probably be out. He suffered a concussion against us, so he should be out. Which I'm gonna agree with you. I think the Saints beat them 35-21. I actually think that the Saints defense is gonna show up. And plus,
yeah, I really like this Saints team. I think this is a Saints team that, if everything goes right, there's no PI calls that get in the way. I think this is a team that maybe the Super Bowl.
I actually think it could go to. No, I strongly disagree with that. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I think this could go 2 ways. I think if the Saints come in and they play pissed off and get a lot of penalties, then they could get blown out. I could see that honestly happening because I think they're going to be pissed. And I think somebody's going to do something stupid and start a fight. But, no, I'm still going to pick the Saints. But hang on. You have the Saints. No, well, let's finish the games. All right, so the Sunday night game is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles are a 1.5-point favorite. The game is in Atlanta.
This is going to be another Sunday night blowout. I can see the Eagles running all over the Falcons.
Couldn't agree with you more. I don't think... Well, honestly, two of Atlanta's offensive linemen got injured Sunday. So I think the Philly defense shows up. And I think it's a huge game by Julio because Atlanta's going to be coming from behind. But, yeah, I see 28-17 Eagles.
I agree with that.
And then Monday night we have, this is a weird line also, Cleveland against the Jets in New York, and Cleveland is a 2.5-point favorite.
1 year ago today, in this matchup, we got our Baker Mayfield debut, and he came back and beat the Jets.
Hot take, Jets win by a lot.
I can see. I mean, they played us really well. I think Le'Veon Bell has a huge game. So I'm looking forward to that game, honestly. I'm excited for it.
I think OBJ goes apeshit. I think he has 2 touchdowns just because it's back in New York and he wants to spite them. But I think that Cleveland's offensive line is going to be the reason they lose. I think Quinnen Williams eats.
Yeah, I mean, I think if C.J. Mosley can play, that guy's going to have a game.
That's true. Does anybody know what his status is?
I don't think...
Let me do a quick Google search here.
It didn't seem like it was, like, super detrimental. I mean, it was enough to keep him sidelined for the rest of the game, but I don't think it was going to keep him out any other games.
Oh, wait, hang on. 1 day ago, C.J. Mosley and Quinnen Williams may miss huge Browns game. Why? Mosley underwent an MRI exam on Monday for a groin injury. Wait, why is Quinnen Williams out? Williams from Alabama sprained his ankle in the second half, is in a walking boot, is unclear. Okay, so he'll play. I don't know if C.J. Mosley will. That's disappointing.
Mosley probably misses this game and plays in week 3.
All right, so I guess to wrap it up, by the way, we'll post our picks on our Twitter, for this week. But to wrap it up, I want your playoff teams.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
If you have them.
I'm going to say obviously the Patriots in the AFC.
Or actually, here, we don't need to. We'll do that next week. Just give me your Super Bowl. Who do you think's in the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl. I'm going Patriots Saints. Battle of the Goats. Hopefully they both retire after this game.
Ooh, okay. I like it. As much as it's going to kill me to say this, I think it's the Chiefs versus Eagles, and I think the Chiefs get their first, or Andy Reid gets his first Super Bowl.
That would be so dope. I love this. I could also see the Packers going.
True. Oh, dang it. I want to change mine right now. Official.
Kansas City Packers would be amazing.
Let's lock it in. I have Kansas City versus the Packers. Kansas City beats Aaron Rodgers. Passing the torch between Rodgers and Mahomes.
I love it.
Hot take, Saints don't make the playoffs.
That's a flaming hot take. Have you seen your division?
Yeah, I do think we win our division.
I don't know if they'll win the division, but they're at least a wild card
No,
team.
I don't think they are. I think they go 9-7 and they miss the playoffs. And the only reason there's actual reasons behind this. One, I don't know if Drew Brees has it anymore.
Did you watch the game?
No, I did watch the game, and he didn't throw a lot of deep balls. Two, I will say, how difficult must it be to have back-to-back heartbreaks in the NFC Championship game? And then you're going to... Come on, people talk about a Super Bowl. Like, if you go to the Super Bowl, you slump the next year. They basically did twice. So either they're going to be amazing this year or they're going to be let down a lot of people. Now, I think if they would have lost that opener to the Texans, that would have been the start of it. I think them winning helps a lot, so maybe I'm way off. But I'm saying 9-7. They come in second in the NFC South. Panthers 10-6 make the playoffs.
That'll be interesting. I like your points there, and that's something to watch. So we'll monitor that as the season goes by.
Also, one last thing before we wrap up about the Saints, I believe their end of season schedule, 1 second while I pull it up, is not easy because I'm pretty sure the Panthers have relatively the same schedule where they play. Okay, here are the last 6 weeks for them. Panthers at home, at the Falcons, 49ers at home, Colts at home, at the Titans, and then at the Panthers. That December 29th at the Panthers, I think, is what decides the division.
I hope you're right. That would be really interesting. That would be such a game.
Well, I'll tell you that the last, I think, other than last year, 2 consecutive years before last year when Cam Newton got hurt, it came down to that game, and Carolina lost them both.
Dang.
Yeah, it devastates me. But yeah. So you have the Patriots versus Saints in the Super Bowl. I have the Chiefs versus Packers. And that was a great show, man. That was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we're getting back into it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see you guys next week, and keep listening.
Yeah, guys. All right, we'll tweet out our picks. Follow us on Twitter at HoldThePhone4, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan's been doing great work with our Madden roster, too, by the way.
I'm trying, man.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Yeah, we'll catch you next week. Y'all have a good rest of your week.